If you're a big fan of the story modes of the Grand Theft Auto franchise, you know that there is always going to be deaths and betrayals of main characters. And in this video, I am going to discuss a post that a fan made where he is predicting the deaths of the story modes for GTA 6. And in this video, I just kind of want to read it and go ahead and give my opinion on it. So let's get into it. Now, this is from Later Figure 701 in the GTA 6 Reddit community. And I haven't read this yet, so let's do a little reaction reading, okay? So, Jason, the death is 60%. Wow, that's a lot. He says, I think Jason has a higher chance of the two main characters, mainly because he tries to protect Lucia in the end, possibly. I don't think either of the main characters will die. I think it's a little bit overdone, especially where the previous title, Red Dead Redemption 2, has, spoiler alert, if you don't play Red Dead Redemption 2, please click off the video. Arthur Morgan dies in the end, and then in GTA 5, spoiler alert, either Michael or Trevor have the ability to die depending on your option. So main characters dying is a little bit outdone, I feel like. And I think there's gonna be more emotional mistakes, more emotional deaths rather than physical. But let's move on to Lucia, 30%. This is less of a chance because she might have to go on the revenge arc in the epilogue. Oh, okay. Oh, that's an interesting one. And I don't see them killing her off in any way. That's an interesting one. Well, I feel like if there is somebody that's going to get kidnapped or used as bait, it's probably going to be Lucia more so than Jason. Even though we know, or we will learn, that Lucia probably can take care of her own, she probably still will be the woman or girl in distress that we need to save, right? This was the same with GTA 5, where at a certain point, the marriage between Michael and Trevor went wrong, if you know what I mean, and Michael ended up in a meat factory as bait for Trevor, but Trevor didn't care back then in that moment of the story, and so Franklin had to go and save Michael, which ended up being a really close call. So in this case, I think that Lucia will be that. Moving on to Kel Hampton, 90% to be honest. Wow. Let's see. Because I think it would be... I could see it. Yeah, I could see it. So the Reddit user says he probably will go out. But the thing is, it might not be a death. It could be an arrest. Maybe he sacrifices himself for Jason and Lucia to get out and he gets arrested or killed. But I do see him dying to add some guilt to Jason. That's a very, very good theory. Because Kel seems like a very loyal friend. He seems like somebody who normally is pretty like scared of gunfights and, you know, that type of stuff. He wants to avoid it, but if he's in a gunfight, he will probably help and shoot some people along with, you know, Jason and Lucia. And then when it comes time to make the call for Jason and Lucia to escape, yeah, of course, Kel is gonna be there for them and make sure that they're safe. So here he's gonna go out and like, oh, let's go, and make a distraction or something. Yeah, that's a situation where I feel like Kel Hampton would make a decision like that. And also the nicest, most fun characters are the ones who are the biggest targets for deaths in these types of stories, right? Moving on to Brian Header, I think his last name is, 80%, big percentage. Another one like Kel, but this one could be also different. He could turn on us, ooh, and make us kill him. Oh, yeah. Or maybe he's the one that kills Jason. That would be crazy. Probably not, but I do see him dying too. Yeah. I feel like Brian is such a veteran in the whole smuggling business. He has built his own empire that I feel like either his death would turn the whole story around, because Brian is really Jason's father figure, right? So in trailer 2, he also is the one who said, they know your name and address and everything. They know everything. So maybe in order for players like you and me to feel the responsibility of what Jason has been doing when he is fleeing from the United Keys to Port Gellhorn with Lucia, the ramification is that his father figure, Brian, has to pay for that with his life. But we'll have to wait and see. I think that is very possible, but I can also see a betrayal for some reason. I don't know. Next one is Batista, the badass that we know nothing about, 20%. And a Reddit user says, I think he will live. I think he will be an awesome side character, but I don't know if I see him playing the huge betrayal role. That's an interesting one because everybody kind of says that Batista is like the betrayal person, except for this user, I guess. But I don't really think it's about betrayal or something. I just think it's about, money, and they have a disagreement with Batista, they being Lucia and Jason, and they just get into a fight and they have to either figure it out themselves or try to kill each other or something like that, right? So I think that's what's going on. I think Batista would be too much of a smart character, to be honest, to get killed off, but that would also be the most logical thing for him to be a villain if he's the smartest and he is what Jason and Lucia are aspiring to be, or what we as a player actually want. Batista is kind of the Michael from GTA 5 but in GTA 6, and even better as well. So yeah, we'll see. 20% is a pretty low percentage in my opinion. Draco Priest, okay, 50%. Maybe he dies in gang violence, but I kind of see him being like a Lamar. Yeah, I think Draco Priest will live, to be honest. I don't think he will get too much into a fight. I mean, the guy is a music producer. He tries to get away from that life of violence. Maybe that's what makes the character more interesting as a target for a death, because then he finally made it. He finally cleaned up his past, and then boom, his past all of a sudden comes back, putting a knife in his back. That's something that could be possible. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm trying to get to that beautiful 8,000 just so I can get closer to that 10,000 subscriber mark. So please subscribe. Let's go back to the video. Next one is the Real Dimes sisters. I don't know if they're sisters. I think they're just friends from high school. But his percentage is 10%, and he says, I don't know why or how they could kill them off. I think they will just be some nice side characters that you see and maybe help during some missions with Daquan and Booby. Yeah, I think that too. I think maybe the Real Dimes will be some more major mission givers than this Reddit user is speaking about, just because there is a lot of potential of beef and drama going wrong, and so you have to kill some competitive artist or whatever. But now that I think about it, that's more of Daquan's kind of role as a manager, to pick and choose who Jason Lucia needs to kill in order to get their cloud up and running. Next up, Booby Ike, 60%. Yeah, that's yeah. Another one that could die in gang violence. Could also see him being arrested. Yeah. There's not a super lot of characters that end up in prison. Actually, there's kind of a lot, now that I think about it. In GTA San Andreas, you had OG Loke. In GTA 4, you had one of the McQuarrie families, like a brother of Packy, that ended up in prison. And of course, in The Lost and Damned, you had, I think his name was Billy, that ended up in prison, and you had to break into prison just to kill him at the end of the game, which is very cool. So that's it for all the main characters. Now you have some side characters as well. Police Chief, 100% definitely dying. He's gonna be the main antagonist for sure at the beginning at least, but I don't see him being the final battle or something. Oh, that's an interesting one, right? It's just like the end of an act in terms of the 3-act structure, which Rockstar Games doesn't really do anymore when it comes to their chapter thing, where they use different chapters, at least in Red Dead Redemption 2. And yeah, I think he's 100% dying too. The next one is guy who takes pictures with Jason and Lucia, 10%. We don't know this guy's names. I don't think I've seen things that he's Lucia's brother. I also think it's a family member, maybe her cousin or something like that. Probably not though, but it's hard to know yet if he will die because he's not really a big part of the story, as we know, of course. Well, he will probably, if it's family, it'll probably be used as bait, you know? And I think there's a way larger percentage for the guy to die because the closer you are to somebody, the bigger target they are, especially if you're a main character in a story, right? So if this is Lucia's cousin or family member, or at least a big part of her life, then yeah, it's gonna be a big target for the bad guys. And then the last one, Lori, Brian's third wife, 50-50 if Brian goes. I think she might too. She will either be super annoying or pretty chill, but we'll see. Maybe she's caught up in something they do and is killed, which makes Brian turn. Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I can see that. Maybe Lucia gets her killed, which makes Brian hate Lucia and turn. I don't know, man. Yeah, this is a very, very interesting theory, and I don't really know what is gonna happen. So the 50-50, I think Lori has a smaller chance of dying, to be honest, because I don't know. She's pretty involved actually, if you see all the screenshots and stuff. So yeah, 50% I do agree. Yeah, I had to think about that for a little bit. And as the top commenter says, I agree with this, saying, I can see everything happening based on what you said, but at the same time, it could be completely off and make sense. Which is true. It could be completely off. It could be making sense. We don't know, but I like that he does a percentage and not a, he'll definitely die and this character would definitely not die. I really like that. So, very nice death prediction right here. What do you guys think? Do you agree with this list or not? Thank you so much to all the members for being a member, and thank you to Sad Life for gifting the 10 members. Thank you also to Victor, Rolf, and Level 1 for being a member. And to everybody, see you next time. Bye bye.